Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another Axel 72 video, and in today's video I'm going to be giving my prediction for the Leigh versus Josh Warrington rematch. And so if you are new around here and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so, like the video if you do indeed like the video, and feel free to join the Patreon as well. There's been plenty of good videos that have come from it as a result recently, and if you're wanting to request any kind of combat sporting related content, or have any kind of betting tips or advice, or to just have general chats with people in the boxing community, then head over to the Patreon. And also, if you are carrying on with some New Year's resolutions, which might be to, keep fit and stay in the gym and things like that, now going into February, if you want to be feeling good whilst doing so, head over to grindactivekinetics.com and use code AXEL10 to get yourself some fresh new gym wear with a little discount as well. Again, I appreciate the support with both of them, and the links will be in the description. Let's get straight into this one though, and I think this is a really exciting rematch. As a British boxing fan who has followed both of these guys' careers well, and also, I've spoke to both of them, I interviewed both of them before the original fight. It's just very exciting for me. I mean, I've always kind of been in the area in which Leigh Wood's kind of fought and been around, and again, he's always created a lot of hype in this region of the UK. And again, it's just a big deal, when both of these guys fight in, like I said, local areas. Their fans and the football fans that they have really come out in big numbers. And when they fought each other in Sheffield at that kind of mutual middle ground of a stadium, they really had a back and forth going on between the fans. It was really, exciting to listen to hear. And again, it's gonna be a really entertaining fight. And also, both of these guys, they might not have the best kind of cleanest of styles, which at this point probably means that they're not going to be winning a world title at this point in their careers, but they are very entertaining and have a lot of heart, and as well have also made this fight a bit of a grudge fight as well. I think that's probably the best way to have sold this as a rematch. I don't really think there's too much ill intent between the two of them. I mean, before the first fight, they were going back and forth a little bit, little jokes and things like that, but there's not a crazy level of animosity, I don't believe. There could be more, it's not fight week yet when I'm recording this, so again, I haven't really seen a face-off yet between the two of them, which could get a little bit fiery, but again, I think it would probably just be a similar kind of good level of jokes and things like that. But there is a little bit of a grudge there, I think, between the two of them, especially on Josh Warrington's side, because you would probably feel like you're a bit hard done to due to the fact of the way that Leigh Wood won the first fight. Even though, it was fair, you could definitely say, it was a tough one for Josh Warrington to have took. And due to their styles, they will pretty much always have matches and rematches there as well. Both of these guys have had wars and losses where you could say maybe they should retire, but they always fight the best, and they always have fights against, they will always have fights there for them, and guys in their similar kind of position. I mean, if you look at the actual division, there's guys in similar positions to them. You have your Conlon, who, yes, has moved down into the featherweight division, but I'm sure will be probably willing to move up if a rematch with, Leigh Wood was there per se. And then you also have the guys like Zelfa Barrett as well. I think he's moved up into the lightweight division, but again, that's a good name. Jordan Gill, if he's willing to, fight again. I don't really know what's happening with his career, but that's there. Josh Padley is another name that's there now. He's just become European champion in the super featherweight division. So, these guys will always have the rematches there, and they'll also have, other fights there because of the fact that they always make fights entertaining and exciting and things like that. It's just, again, I'm sure the fans wouldn't mind seeing a Leigh Wood versus a Maurizio Lara again, even though, I don't know really what's going on with Lara. Maybe not Lara. I think something happened with drug testing with him. But still, nonetheless, you kind of get my point, I think. And again, that's just due to their styles and the entertainment, and that's where the fans get behind them. Warrington was winning, of course, the first fight on all the judges' scorecards before he was shockingly KO'd by Leigh Wood, who has defied the odds multiple times in his career. I mean, I'm pretty sure he was behind on the Conlon fight before he knocked him out. He'd been knocked out by Maurizio Lara and then came back in the second fight. He obviously had the dramatic fight with Warrington to then get the knockout, and this was, for Warrington, after a close fight that he had with Lopez, which was actually surprising. He had a bit of a close fight in that fight because, I mean, Lopez was knocking out everybody, and I feel like people kind of expected Lopez to do the same with Warrington. He obviously did do the same with Conlon, but he didn't do that with Warrington, which was impressive and better than at least I expected at the time. And then he had, after the first fight between him and Leigh Wood, he had a more dominating kind of loss to Kakache in a fight which I'm not really sure why happened. I mean, Kakache was just, I think he just got vacated his IBF title, and then they allowed, or this was just before, I'm not entirely sure, but to have a Kakache versus Warrington when Warrington had just lost 2 fights in a row and had just been knocked out was an interesting fight. And again, it wasn't the most exciting for the fans. I mean, Kakache dominated like everybody kind of thought he would. But, you know, nonetheless, like I say, he's kind of always been in competitive fights. He came back in his last fight and beat Khan clearly, which, to be fair, Conlon had a fight with Khan, and that was a bit closer of a fight than what Warrington had with him. And Matchroom, I believe, have kind of made it clear that they've been wanting the rematch with Wood. That was the whole reason as to why Warrington has come back. And I think Matchroom will continue to work and continue to promote the winner of this fight, but the loser of this one, if they lose badly, they might retire. It wouldn't surprise me if, especially Leigh Wood being the older one by 2 years at 37, if he is to retire, which I know he has mentioned on a couple of occasions, kind of, you know, a little bit, if he is, like I say, to lose badly in this fight and possibly get hurt or stopped, I think he probably would retire, and it could be the same for Josh Warrington as well, to be fair. Again, they are both wanting to fight at that kind of highest world level, and I mean, I'm not entirely sure if they can get back there, but there's really no way, I think, if they get knocked out in this fight, in my opinion. Woods, of course, has had plenty of wars in his career. Again, the Conlon fight, the Dickens fight, which he won, I think, from memory, and that has aged well, but again, I might be wrong, I can't remember for that one. The Lara one, the Lara 2, the Warrington one, but he's always showed a lot of heart. Last time out, though, he fought Anthony Kakache, and obviously Warrington fought Kakache and lost quite clearly, but he didn't get stopped. Wood fought Kakache after Wood hadn't just been knocked out like Warrington had, and Wood got knocked out by Kakache with a pretty brutal body shot, which really did damage him. Yes, it wasn't a bad stoppage in the way of, you know, getting actually hit to the head and then fully, you know, flatlined, but it was still a pretty brutal body shot, and that was the 3rd time in which he's been stopped in his career, maybe suggesting that he is getting weaker from the wars, which, I mean, wouldn't be surprising at all. I mean, again, like I mentioned, the amount of wars in which he has had, and the fact that pretty much every one of his fights do kind of just lead to a war, you would say that, you know, it's going to wear down anybody over time. And from that Kakache fight, it did look like, you know, it was wearing him down a bit. And that fight was a bit more of a technical fight to an extent than what Wood, I feel like, is normally used to. And Kakache did, you know, show his class in that fight to then eventually, like I say, get the stoppage as well. To speak about both fighters individually, though, Wood as a fighter, I like how he keeps his right hand high. He kind of uses that there, keeps it there. It's a nice little thing. He's, you know, got them good kind of base defensive fundamentals, and it's also the way that he holds his shape well as well. Again, two just kind of nice things there, which do make him look a cleaner fighter than that of Warrington, in my opinion. He's got good timing, kind of coming often under with the shots. You know, he's got a clean body shot which he can time well, which I'm pretty sure he did to Lara in the second fight. And again, he can use that punch well, and he does carry good power. Both of these actually do carry kind of underrated power. I would say Wood's power, as proven, is a bit more of a one-punch kind of knockout, whereas Warrington's is a bit more of a overwhelming, in-your-face type power. But they do both carry power. He changes levels well. He often improves throughout fights, in which, again, you can reference to, say, the Conlon fight, where he did really improve throughout it, and even in the Warrington fight he did. He can lead you on to punches nicely, which is, of course, what he did to Warrington, and Warrington, you know, he's going to have to be a little bit more defensively aware. He might be, you know, actually holding a few demons from that fight because of the fact that he got knocked out the way that he did when he was leading so much, it's probably going to make him a bit more tense, which isn't always a bad thing. You don't want to be too relaxed if you're winning, but it could also lead on to possibly him getting a bit too wary and not committing to as much as what he normally does because of the past fight between the two of these. He can box at a mid-range or an in close range, and he's pretty comfortable whilst doing so. I mean, he's not amazing in close, but he is still pretty comfortable for the most part as well. But I will say the most times in which you've seen him get really hurt, it has been in close. He responds back with a good, short, strong jab, which is, again, one of the in-close things that he does better, and he was able to have success with that in the Warrington fight, and even in the Kakache fight, he was using it pretty well. And, of course, we've seen him dig deep as well. Again, if your body isn't going to allow you to dig deep, that's a different thing, but mentally, he always tries to dig deep, and I think he can also take being hurt better and deal with it better than that of Warrington. Obviously, you don't want to be hurt at all in a fight, but sometimes I think Wood, when he gets hurt, it then wakes him up and it can, switch him on to then go a little bit more, whereas Warrington, when he has been hurt, it's a lot more dramatic, in my opinion. Negatives about Wood: he's been damaged to the body now, and Warrington does hit to the body well, and that might become a little bit of a weak spot. He does go back in lines, and that was something in which Kakache was able to have a lot of success with. He leans often kind of too much over the front foot with when he's trying to go for his jab. He has his left hand lower. I like to say his right hand's in a good spot, but his left hand can be quite low. He can tense up a bit too much when he is throwing at times, and sometimes start to load up then too long. He's doesn't always able to handle that higher output pressure, and again, mixing with the fact that he's going back in lines, there was times in which Kakache was mixing up his punches, and if you're mixing up the punches and he's going back in a straight line and you're putting on pressure coming forwards, you are going to be able to land on him quite often. And I don't feel like he handles fast hands all that well. I think Kakache's hands, and especially his jab, was just a lot faster and sharper in their fight. He's not got the strongest of guards either, where I would say Warrington, when he uses his guard, maybe not when he's throwing, but when he does use it, is a bit tighter and a bit stronger. And he doesn't always pair up his punches as nicely as I'd like to see, and he doesn't always throw a tremendous amount of combinations unless he's, really trying to just let everything go. Warrington, as a fighter, again, I think he's got a tighter guard than that of Wood. He's able to make often you kind of fight his fight. Often he can't really fight your fight, so he kind of has to make you fight his fight. But he is good at doing that, and he was doing that in the first fight between him and Wood. He's willing to start fast, and he commits to his shots well. But again, perhaps there could be some demons there from the first fight. He sets a high tempo. He was doing something really nice in that first fight between him and Wood. He was ducking under punches to close the distance, and he was really keeping his head off the line quite a lot, which is just something in which I hadn't really seen from him much. And again, it was really kind of changing things up and making him being able to get into the range pretty well. He's physically imposing. I think he is physically stronger than that of Wood as well. He's willing to let his hands go. He has power as well. He smothers you, but he can then still get his work off, even though he has smothered you, which is, something impressive, really not allowing that much space, but he knows that he's better in close than that of Wood, from at least what I think he should be thinking, and again, like I say, he was getting that good in close work, and he did have Wood hurt on a couple of occasions, I believe, in that first fight, just up on the ropes, where Wood was just kind of sitting on the ropes taking punches, and he pounds from body to head with his work. Negatives about him: he squares up and typically has pretty messy footwork for the most part, and he doesn't box at range at all and doesn't really like to box at range, and he can be caught a lot by a jab, to be fair. He can be walked onto punches, as seen from the stoppage. He's not really got much of a setup or a jab. He can be overreaching his hooks from afar. He's pretty much just mainly throwing hooks, which again can become predictable and also can leave them gaps down the middle as well. And again, I think that's what eventually Leigh would realise. And so I would like to see a little bit more variety from him. He's a big target, kind of just in front of you a lot of the time. He's often punching on the back of the head. That's what he got point deducted for in the first fight. He can also got a bit of a reputation for headbutting a bit as well. So just making, he makes the fight physically a bit dirty, But, I mean, if he can get away with it, he gets away with it, but he can't, and it can lead to point deductions, and if a fight's close, of course, you don't want that. And I think, like I mentioned, he can't handle being hurt as well as that of Leigh would. Who do I think is going to win this fight? I think that Josh Warrington is going to be able to win via a TKO in round 9. This might be a little bit of a bold take, but still, like I say, I think he is going to be able to do it. Like I mentioned, I feel like he had Leigh Wood hurt on multiple occasions in that first fight, and now Leigh Wood coming from a stoppage, which again, like I say, wasn't brutal, but I think if the body is weakened a bit, and he is weakened a bit over the time with the wars, I don't think he can just rely solely on a single shot to come through. I would like to see Josh Warrington mix up his punches a little bit and be a little bit more, aware later on throughout the fight when he is coming in, just to, like I say, not leave a gap straight down the middle. But I think he is going to be able to last a bit better. Again, if he gets hurt, it'll be interesting to see how he reacts, but I don't think he's going to get as badly hurt, and I think he is going to be able to win via that of a late stoppage, and again, possibly send Leigh Wood into retirement, to be fair, in my opinion. And that would be a big win for Josh Warrington. I mean, he hasn't really been able to get these big wins in his career for a little while now. Like I mentioned, he got a win last time against a lower level opponent, but then he was on a 3-fight losing streak. And he hasn't won, I believe, in a bigger fight since the Kiko Martinez fight, which feels like a while ago now, which it has been, to be fair. So this would be a big win for him, and this could reignite his career. Like I mentioned, there's a few names about, possibly a Zelfa Barrett, a Jordan Gill, a Michael Conlon, if they're willing to, fight in this division still. If not, if we're looking solely at people in this division, a Josh Padley fight for the EBU title could be a great fight, to be fair, or a Ryan Garner fight could be a good fight as well. They're two guys who are looking good in the super featherweight division. I wouldn't mind seeing Garner versus Padley for the EBU title, but if one of them wants to mix it against a Josh Warrington instead, I wouldn't mind that. If we're looking outside of the UK, I think the only fight in which possibly might be willing to happen would be a Liam Wilson fight, and that's just because Liam Wilson seems content in Australia just fighting whoever he gets given. He is saying that he wants to push for a title shot again, but I don't think he's going to get one for a little bit. But he, is a good name to have on your resume as well. So, Josh Warrington's always talked about wanting to go to America. Why not Australia? That could be a good thing to do instead. And then I wanted to give my prediction for one more fight on this card, which is Sandy Ryan versus Karla Zamora fight for the vacant WBC World Super Lightweight title. And see, this fight is a random fight, to be fair. To be the full title of this is the full WBC title, and I think the WBC have made Taylor champion in recess because she wanted some time off and she didn't really want to be being forced to fight Chantel Cameron. But I just never like when, the WBC starts doing this champion in recess stuff, as when she comes back, she will technically still be WBC champion. So there'll be 2 WBC champions, which just makes no sense because then you've not got the one WBC champion. I feel like it takes away from that a bit. And, I feel bad for Cameron. I mean, she's basically had Katie Taylor just say that she doesn't want to fight her again, and then Cameron hasn't been given a shot for the title. She's then decided instead that she's going to go to fight in the super welterweight division. So, I mean, I feel bad for her, but at least she is getting her title shot now, even though she's had to wait a while. But now that Cameron isn't going to be mandatory for the super lightweight belt, it does kind of mean that the division isn't looking as good or as strong. You would kind of think, though, surely that there could have been a better option to fight for the belt than Zamora. No disrespect, but she's on a 1-fight win streak. She has fought top names like Beatrice Ferreira, Layla Birdwine, Erica Cruz, and Marie de Care as well. But the only big win in which she has comes against Jessica Kamara, which was a good win because Kamara went on some bigger fights afterwards. But, Kamara's never really been a great fighter. Dubois really showed that against her. And then she lost against Beatrice Ferreira right after. And when there's other names like Peely, who's the IBO champion, and Samantha Worthington, who's 12-0 like Peely is, surely you would have think they would have been better options for a title shot. I mean, I know that Peely, I'm pretty sure, is ranked higher than Zamora with the WBC rankings. I might be wrong, but still, I just don't understand how Zamora has been given this shot, to be fair. Again, it's just, I don't feel like she deserves it at all. I mean, to lose to a 2-0 Beatrice Ferreira not that long ago, it just, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense to me. And Ryan has had a lot of opportunities in, not that many fights, but she has had to work hard to get any kind of wins, where she's, of course, had the bad draw against Jessica McCaskill, which feels like a little while ago now, to be fair, and then the controversial first fight with Mayo, with what happened outside of the ring, even though I suppose it wasn't really that controversial, the actual scorecards, even though it was still close, and then, I suppose it is to an extent fair that she gets an easier title shot. I mean, you could argue that she doesn't really deserve a title fight, but again, you look at the options and maybe it is a bit fair. I'm sure the WBC at least wants a champion, and she is the best out of the names, really, bar, maybe a Peely versus a Worthington fight. I probably wouldn't have minded that, but she is the biggest name out of them, at least. She did lose more convincingly in the second Mayo fight, though, which is, again, probably the argument in which I would say to not give her a title shot. She did bounce back well last time out, and that was still in the welterweight division, though, so to move straight down and get a title shot is interesting. She does also have a win against Terry Harper on the resume, which does look good at the moment, but, that was pre the Mayo fights, so again, she hasn't had a real good win in a little bit now. So again, I mean, she's a little bit fortunate to get a title shot, but I don't think moving down to super lightweight is bad for Ryan. I think it will bring back the power, and she'll be able to, overwhelm possibly her opponent in this fight. I mean, she is overwhelming a lot as a fighter, but that's from the power shots she brings. I think she can be outthrown, and defensively, I've been wanting to see a little bit more from her. She was a bit better last time out, defensively, when she, took a little bit of a step down in opponent, but, she was moving ahead a bit more. She was, taking little steps back and things like that. She wasn't just stood there in front of you like she was kind of in the Mayo fights, but defensively I still want to see a little bit more. Zamora will probably look a similar size, I'd imagine, to Ryan, and I believe will meet Ryan toe-to-toe, which could make for an entertaining fight, but she can be made to miss, and if Ryan uses good movement, she can also, find the gaps that Zamora will very clearly leave. When she's throwing especially, and I think she is definitely there to be hit, and I also think she can wilt later on in the fight like she did against Beatrice Ferreira Zamora. So I am going to go over Sandy Ryan unanimous decision. Again, the first couple of rounds, I think Zamora will probably try and start quickly and want to draw Ryan into a war straight away. That'll make it entertaining, but I still think inevitably as the rounds go on, Zamora will have less inner, Ryan will have more to give, and again, if Ryan doesn't just get drawn into an all-out war, I still, I feel like it could definitely be a dominant fight, in my opinion, to win the world title and to become a world champion again. And then who she can go on to fight, I mean, Peely, Worthington, two fighters in which I've just mentioned. Or if you look at WBC rankings, a fighter called, I think it's Helene Konart, is the kind of top-ranked fighter with the WBC. I mean, I probably would have preferred to see her get a title shot instead of Zamora, but, she's the WBC international champion at the moment, so maybe that could happen. Again, she's top ranked. Maybe that could happen. Or possibly if if Katie Taylor wants to come back and fight Sandy Ryan. I mean, I feel like that's the only fight in which Katie Taylor can come back to, is that fight, because of the fact that then, at least then, we'd be able to find out who is the true WBC super lightweight champion, even though it technically is Katie Taylor because she hasn't lost the belt. But yeah, that is it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like the video if you didn't, like the video, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.